It occurs to me that in my video on the MK11 Aftermath trailer, I may have come off a little harsher than I intended. Basically, at the end of the video, I decided that that video would be the ideal time to bring up a certain subject, which is people asking very quickly about my thoughts on a certain subject. Which usually, some new MK content is announced and people are very quick to ask, what do you think about this? Are you going to do a video about it? And these are questions that I felt would be obvious. I make so much MK content, I feel like it's obvious I'm going to make something about it. And as for the question of whether or not to know about it, yeah. I think it's obvious that I would be informed about this stuff. So it just seemed obvious to me. And so I talked about it in that video. And I think if I hadn't put it in that video, it probably would have come across better. Simply because I wanted that video out on that same day. Partly just to be timely, but also to get it out of the way so I could move on to the other stuff I was working on. But if I hadn't put it out in that video, if it had been a separate video on its own, I would have had more time to mull it over, I think, and better plan the way it was worded and particularly delivered. I think that was what got to a lot of people, was the fact that it came off so aggressive when that wasn't my intent. But the problem, of course, there is if I just put it in its standalone video, less people would have seen it. Less people would have looked at that because it's not the proper content, Whereas if I put it into something people are going to want to see, more people are going to see it. So that's kind of the dilemma that I faced, was either not as many people will see it, or everyone will see it, but I don't have the time to properly consider how it's going to come across. And it ended up coming across quite aggressively to a lot of people. There were quite a lot of commenters who got really upset about it. I asked on Twitter what people thought, and it was roughly 50-50 split, I think. I think on the poll it was mostly no, it's fine. But I think from the actual comments it was roughly 50-50. That it was, some people said it was a bit aggressive, maybe it was a bit out of line. Other people saying no, it's fine. I think both viewpoints are valid, but I just want to kind of clear the air on that. I didn't intend for it to come off quite that aggressively. It is one of those frustrating things about being a content creator. It's a double-edged sword. It's good because it indicates that that my subscribers and followers and what have you, they do value my opinion, or at least they want to see me talk about it and bitch and moan about stuff. So it's good in that respect, but at the same time it can be a bit overwhelming and agitating when you get the same questions over and over again. And so what I was trying to get across was I want people to kind of consider before they ask. Because, if you thought to ask this question, I have thousands of subscribers, someone else is bound to have also thought of that and probably gone ahead and done it. It was one of the things that you might not really think about if you're not a content creator yourself. I get that some people, they're not people usually. I'm sure there are some people who are just being dicks about it, but most people, I think, are just curious. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that you do need to consider that your curiosity and your interest is not unique. A lot of other people are going to have that same curiosity and are going to ask the same questions. And so when a lot of people are doing that, it really does all add up, and it gets annoying having to answer the same questions. Especially since, people spread out. Like, not everyone's going to see if I reply about it on Twitter. If I just say on Twitter, I've seen the MK11 Aftermath trailer. I'm doing a video on it. I've got, I think, 1,500 followers on Twitter, which compared to the number of YouTube subscribers, which is over 60,000, is minuscule. So if I just put it on Twitter, most people who subscribe to me aren't going to see it. Then there's the whole possibility of doing one of those. It's like a tweet that you do on YouTube, but like you don't get it on the desktop version. You don't get it if you're watching on a computer, which is how I mostly use YouTube. And you have to go to a certain part of the YouTube app on your phone to see it. That's really unreliable too. So the way most people are going to see it is with a YouTube video, and well, of course, there's a challenge both ways. If it's in text form, people are going to kind of apply their own tone to it as they read it. They're going to have their own interpretation of what the tone is meant to be. You can't really have it be just the words on their own, but then you got the video version where I actually say it, and sometimes the tone delivery isn't correct. It's not the way it's intended to go. So it's just one of the things that's difficult to try and get across without coming off like an ungrateful dick. And I don't want to come off that way. I'm not ungrateful for the following I have. You know, it's great to have people who are interested in my opinion. I mean, if not for that, I'd basically get no views, right? And so I really do appreciate the interest. It's just please be calm. Think about it before you do go ahead and comment. Again, someone else has probably already asked me. The two simple answers are going to be, have you heard about this thing in the MK community, this new MK content or what have you? Yes. You can pretty much guarantee the answer is yes. If it was some kind of small update, that might not be the case, but as far as the announcement of a project goes, yeah, I will know about it. So you don't need to ask that question, because I do know about it. But I do appreciate you guys trying to let me know if you think I've not seen it. But yes, the answer will always be yes. And when it comes to the question of are you going to do a video about it, well, with an announcement trailer, unless I have some specific thoughts like I did with the Aftermath, you know, if I do have thoughts about it, then yes. There will be a video about it eventually, like Scorpion's Revenge. I had nothing really to say about the trailer or the announcement of the movie. Didn't really have any particularly strong thoughts. Then the movie came out, and I saw it, and yeah, I have some thoughts about that. The video isn't coming anytime soon, but there will be a video about it at some point. Okay? That's kind of it. Is, are you aware of this new thing? Yes. Are you going to make a video about it? Yeah. Most likely. And the other question is, of course, you know, when's the MK11 critique? I do the critiques when all the DLC is out, because I want to cover everything in one go. You know, I don't want to have to make one video and then when I do the follow-up about the DLC, I have to address all the things that have changed. You know, it feels like it'd be a waste of time, and the stuff in the first video would be out of date. So I want to get all that stuff in one video that is kind of the definitive version. You know, one of the reasons that some people said that my response and the way everything came across was justified is because there are certain things I've answered multiple times in multiple videos and I still get asked about it. And that's the thing, there isn't really a way to just give a definitive answer. I think even if I made you know, an FAQ video, here's answers to all the questions, people still aren't going to see it. There's really nothing I can do to answer the questions and place them where everyone can see them and have the answer. There's no way to do that. And so there's always going to be people asking the questions again later. And it does get frustrating. And I don't intend for it to come off aggressively. It's just, it does get really irritating. So it's one of those things where I think, you know, creator and viewer both need to be understanding. You know, the creator needs to understand that people are just curious. They usually don't have any ill will. They're just curious about what the answer is, and they're curious about the creator's opinion on certain subjects. It's understandable. And the viewer needs to understand that these questions are going to get asked a lot. So they need to consider whether or not it's worth asking this question when somebody else is bound to have asked it already. Again, I'm sorry if it came off too aggressive to you, or if it came off as ungrateful. That really wasn't my intention. I think we all need to kind of be a bit more thoughtful going forward, more, you know, consider the other side's views and the way things go for them, in order to make things go forward a little smoother. And that's really all I want to discuss. Hopefully I didn't just repeat myself too much. And hopefully things will be a bit smoother going forward from both sides.